How are we doing on this beautiful day, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another video here on Cubs Daily. My name is Steven Ryan, and I'm here to bring you all the updates, news, roster shakeups, and anything and everything Chicago Cubs right to you. So, first order of business, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification button as well if you don't mind, and lock on into Cubs Daily because I'm bringing you guys all of the exciting news regarding the Chicago Cubs. Also, comment down below what your thought on the Cubs catching situation is. Right now, it's a little bit of a platoon action with Miguel Amaya and Carson Kelly, but the Cubs had their minor league player of the year, Moises Balastros. He is balling out, so I'm curious to see what the Cubs might do with him going forward. We will get to Miguel Amaya here in a matter of moments, ladies and gentlemen, but let's talk about Tom Ricketts. Now, Tom Ricketts said this about a month and a half ago. I know I'm a little bit late to the party on that front, but guess what? Cubs Daily just dropped last week, and we got to talk about this, right, Cubs fans? Because this kind of irks me a little bit as a fan. You know, we devote so much of our time, our currency, our passion towards the Cubs. I mean, I got a Cubs bear here, Cubs cards there, you know, Cubs over here, etc., etc. And Tom Ricketts comes out and says something like this. He's like, they think somehow we have all these dollars that the Dodgers have, or the Mets have, or the Yankees have, and we just keep it. Which isn't true at all. What happens is we try to break even every year, and that's about it. Well, life is a course, and I'm a shoot for par is a lyric from Lil Wayne, but that's not what I want to hear from my owner of my favorite baseball team. I want to hear that we are going to try and win the World Series. Now, there are some teams in smaller markets, per se, that do not want to spend the bread, and they might just get lucky one year, a la Kansas City Royals in 2015, but that's not how the Cubs need to operate. We need to have a little more aggression in our market play. I'm not saying not signing Bregman wasn't the worst deal, but there are some players, in my opinion, that are worth splurging for. Shohei Ohtani, Juan Soto. Maybe they don't come here. That's fine if they don't want to be a Cub. But you can't not give them the offer or at least attempt to match, right? Like, you can't compete with LA's weather. You can't compete necessarily with the city vibes of New York, but you can at least compete with the dollar, and maybe the aura of Wrigley Field will happily get a guy here, because the Cubs fans is one of the best fan bases in all of baseball. Good, bad, rain, shine, snow, whatever. We are at Wrigley Field whenever there is a home game scheduled, and that is always good for a player. That is always a very good selling point for any player that is on the free agent market. You can sell them on playing in front of a large crowd every single night, even during the early parts of the week, in the early parts of the season when everyone's home and at school. You can sell them on that. That is a good thing. So it does hurt me when Tom Ricketts says something like, oh, we're just trying to break even. Well, that's what our record is. We're even. We're not even good or bad. We can't even make a decision that way. So that's the part that bothers me. Go a little bit over, okay? It's not like the Cubs are the lifeblood of your business, Mr. Ricketts. You have plenty of other ventures. You were part of a group trying to buy like Chelsea football or something, which is even more of a larger commitment financially than this. So it pains for me to hear that as a Cubs fan when the owner says that we're just trying to break even. Invest in the team. Go get us a superstar bat. The Kyle Tucker deal, fantastic. I'm not saying the Cubs haven't made some good moves these past few off seasons, but they made great moves within the budget, right? Like, they traded Cody Bellinger away, which was $27 million a year, for Kyle Tucker, which in my opinion is an upgrade, but also it's an $11 million decrease. Pay Kyle Tucker. You can't even pay him soon enough. He's in his prime. You might as well lock in that bat at Wrigley for the next 6 years. Book it. Now, pay him the $300 million. The most the Cubs have ever paid, I think, is Jason Hayward at $168. No, it's Dansby Swanson, $177 million. Then Jason Hayward at $177 million. So it just pains me to hear that as a Cubs fan personally, because you have the money, you have the keys, you have one of the best organizations. You're not like you're running, the Tampa Bay Rays, who are struggling to fill their stadium, or the Marlins, whose payroll has dropped by 2% in 20 years, while everything else is rising with inflation. That is the part that hurts as a Cubs fan. We have the potential to do it, but they claim that we don't. And that's just BS. That's just not true, Mr. Ricketts. And I hope that, you take a little more leap of faith with your payroll, all that good stuff. Trust me, the fans are going to back you 100%. We're still going to go to Wrigley. We're going to consume. We're going to drink your beer. We're going to get you guys the money. We're going to buy all the memorabilia, all that good stuff. Just have some faith that we want to win another title, and the riches that come from winning the title will pay you dividends down the road. All right, let's move on to a more interesting subject, more team-based, as I like to say. Let's talk about a potential breakout season here for one of the Cubs relievers. Could Nate Pearson be a key contributor to our bullpen? I really do think so. I'm going to show you guys a graphic here in a minute. He was one of the top prospects in the Blue Jays system in 2020. He had really, really good velocity. He had a filthy breaking ball. And unfortunately, there was an injury. Just, he hasn't got a lot of a chance to develop. Look at these games played over the past 4 seasons. 2020, he only got 5. That was already a shortened season due to COVID. 21, he only had 12. 22, he never even pitched in the big leagues due to injury. Last year, he got 35 appearances because, unfortunately, he was getting hit as a starter, and then he moved to the bullpen. And then this last year, in 2024, he was traded to the Cubs, got into the most games he's appeared in his brief Major League career. But either way, I think Nate Pearson really needs a chance here to get consistent reps. I mean, maybe he even could be a surprise 5th starter. He was once a starter. That's all bullpen arms are, right, ladies and gentlemen? They're failed starters, essentially. But maybe Nate Pearson could be a nice long inning guy, right? He comes in the 4th, gets us to the 6th, etc., etc. I do like the potential he has. He does have good stuff, good swing and miss stuff as well. So Nate Pearson could be a key contributor to our bullpen this year, alongside Mr. Presley and all the other guys that we have signed as well. But still, with this Cubs team, ladies and gentlemen, it just feels like there is one more move that the Cubs need to make. And I still think they need a couple pieces to really put them over the top. And even then, putting them over the top still doesn't match up their lineup with the likes of the Braves or the Dodgers or the Phillies, because those teams' lineups are just absolutely stacked tenfold. I mean, the Dodgers, right? Shohei, Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman. That's your first 3. Then you deal with Teoscar Hernandez and Will Smith as well. Like, that top 5 is just tough to beat in general. But that doesn't mean it's not baseball. Anything can happen, especially in the postseason. I'm not sure if the Cubs need to go out and get another big bat. I personally think they kind of need to go get a frontline starter ace. I love Shota Imanaga and I love Justin Steele. I would really, really, really love it if those are our 2nd and 3rd starters, right? Now, names we've seen out there like Michael King, Dylan Cease, Jesus Luzardo was a name the Cubs were attached to this offseason. Those names might become more available at a cheaper price in the upcoming trade deadline for the Cubs. But I think they want to remain patient. They want to give their young guys a chance, right? They want to see if Ben Brown can maybe step in and fill that role. The Cubs absolutely need a frontline ace to just take this puppy home, though. A guy who throws nearly 100, he can drop it down to 88 and really keep those batters off balance. Also, the frontline ace is kind of like a loss stopper, right? If you've lost 3 or 4 in a row, or 3 or 4, he gets your team back on track, and the Cubs haven't had that in a very, very long time. I would say since John Lester and Jake Arrieta back in the 2015, 16, 17 era. Those were the 2 best pitchers on the Cubs. And we haven't had that feeling in a very long time here. So I'm very excited to see if maybe one of those guys can develop into that, or the Cubs use some of that minor league depth and firepower to go out and get themselves an arm. That is what the Cubs need to do here. So I'm looking towards guys like, Dylan Cease, maybe Jesus Luzardo. I would really, really like a high velocity guy, because it kind of seems like the Cubs have a lot of location guys, which again, in baseball, it works, it's effective. But in the postseason, it comes down to 2 things: home runs and strikeouts. Which team does it the best and which team hits the most home runs generally win the World Series. As crazy as it sounds, it can be just that simple, ladies and gentlemen. So, Cubs do need to make one more move. I will be very curious and excited to see it. As the season comes along, we're going to hear more rumors, and obviously you can catch all of that right here on Cubs Daily. So like I said before, make sure you subscribe, like the video, and all of that. Now, what I teased at the beginning of the video, we were talking about Miguel Amaya and how his development was going to impact this year's Cubs team. Now, I do like the situation for Miguel Amaya because he does have a player breathing down his neck. Moisture Spiller, the Cubs minor league player of the year, is going to be in AAA this year. And if he is playing well and Miguel Amaya is struggling, the Cubs might need to give this kid a shot. Plain and simple. Miguel Amaya will be a pivotal player for the Cubs this year. Last year, it was his first year, full season starting. He did split time with Yan Gomes, etc., and Betancourt towards the end. He only hit .232, which is below average. But, again, ladies and gentlemen, when you're talking about catchers in baseball, it's like shortstops, right? You're willing to sacrifice some of the offense if it means the defense is solid. Miguel Amaya was a very solid defensive catcher last year. He hit .232, hit 8 home runs, and drove in 47. But according to his ZIP projections here on the right-hand side of your screen, his average is supposed to jump a little bit. He might hit another home run. His RBIs will dip, but I think that's more dependent on opportunity and where he is in the lineup. But his on-base and slugging will increase as well. According to the ZIPs, we'll have to see how it goes. But again, wherever Miguel is slotted in that lineup, if he has solid protection, that means he should see some solid pitches. He was coming on late at the end of the year, so I'm hoping he can roll that success into 2025. Guys, that is going to do it for today's video. I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your day, and I will see you guys tomorrow with the next one.